This is definitely water, not anything else. I'm going to be doing a lot of talking. And I even wrote a script, so. It is the year 2021, and most Lolitas know the letters RC stand for Ruffle Chat. But at one point in time, it also stood for another thing, this small alternative convention named Rufflecon. It has been almost 4 years since the last Rufflecon, and it doesn't really feel that long, but it has been, and time flies. Anyway, I had kind of an idea to do a deep dive, retrospective, I don't know exactly what you would call it. I did a lot of research in looking into Rufflecon, how it started, what went right and what went wrong, and why did Rufflecon end? All of these questions are actually very easily answered by Google, but I just wanted to have them in an easy to access video because why not, you know? The earliest mention of Rufflecon is an announcement post on the EGL Live Journal community dated December 15th, 2012. It was extremely common for large Lolita fashion events like con tea parties and brand guests to be announced on EGL since it was one of the only largest community of English-speaking Lolitas. The dates for the first Rufflecon were set for October 4th through 5th, 2014. The post goes on to describe the conference as a conference held in New Haven, Connecticut, devoted to followers of cute, elegant, alternative fashion in the northeastern USA. Rufflecon is brought to you by a handful of alternative fashion enthusiasts who have been involved in the local community for years, over a decade for some of us. We have been brought together by our love for Lolita, goth, steampunk, or any other fashion from a rather shockingly long list. But one thing that unites us all is our commitment to creating for our communities an open, accepting forum devoted to the elegant alternative fashion and its followers. We are dedicated to creating an atmosphere of learning and exploring within fashions new and old, and of course having fun while we're at it. Then the post gets into the basic details about hotel accommodations, vendors, volunteers, registration, and VIP goodies. And they mention an Indiegogo campaign to help with raising money as well. Not much excitement was actually generated on the post. It only had about 5 comments, but in my EGL lurking heart, I was definitely excited. The next mention of Rufflecon comes from the blog F Yeah Lolita about a year later in December 2013. F Yeah Lolita was a blog that honestly taught me everything I know about Lolita fashion. LolitaFashion.org really helped too. It was often recommended to newbies since the way that posts were written were easy to follow and understand, and it helped you find your footing in the fashion. Basically, this blog was trusted and they weren't going to tell you any bullshit. This post goes into a little more detail about the origins of the convention and the people who started it, and a little bit more of what the whole thing's about. It's actually technically a conference, but in my script I wrote it as a convention, I guess because I'm used to saying convention so much, but it is a conference. They reference it as a conference. The conference was thought up by 2 Lolitas, Caro of F Yeah Lolita and Christina of Ramble Rory. Their blog is unfortunately down, so I'm not going to show it. They probably don't want it to be shown. Essentially, it came to be because of a mix of 2 things. People were tired of seeing J-fashion content being cut out of anime convention schedules, and there was a desire for more Lolita fashion standalone events, preferably in the Northeast since that's where both of them were from. At this time, Europe was having a lot of really nice events, and there was also an event in Atlanta, Georgia named Frill. Unfortunately, Frill didn't come back for their 2014 year, so Rufflecon was kind of the only thing that American Lolitas had in terms of a fashion convention. In this post, it is stated that Rufflecon is not a strictly Lolita fashion event, and it was more of a dream fashion weekend that encompassed goths, Lolita fashion enthusiasts, steampunks, and other alternative fashions. It then goes on to discuss the potential hotel, the Indiegogo campaign, and they also leave a link to the website and the Facebook page of the conference. So we're gonna basically fast forward through 2013 and 2014 because there is not really much to say. They basically just campaigned and raised money to bring guests to Rufflecon, and the event happened. Rufflecon 2014 was held in the Omni New Haven in Hartford, Connecticut. There was a marketplace, consignment room, streaming room, masquerade ball, concert, fashion shows, workshops, panels, a VIP only room, and a high tea to finish off the weekend. So there were a good amount of things to do. The guests for this first year included Voltaire, Fumiko Kawamura, Enchantidly, these names are really hard. G.D. Falkson, Jillian Venters, Catherine Patterwick of Redfield Designs, Kai and Bobby of Triple Fortune and Brilliant Kingdom, Platform 1, Psych Corporation, and Zoraven of Morgan NYC. At this time, they were sponsored by a company named Two Shirts and Gothic Lolita Wigs, which this happened before the whole racism thing came to light, but like you have to wonder, how does Rufflecon have such bad luck with sponsorships? Like, for a first year fashion convention, it seemed to be like a pretty good lineup, and from all the reviews that I could still find online, everybody who attended seemed to have a good time as well. The only issue that I could really see was the lighting, which makes sense because Lolitas love a good cord shot. For that being your only complaint, that's really good. Rufflecon's first year was a success. The second Rufflecon was going to take place October 2nd through 4th, 2015. So after its first year went so well, they decided to upgrade to a 3-day event, which, I mean, a lot of people were saying that they had the amount of people and the amount of content to fill up 3 days, so they just listened to the feedback they got. For the 2015 year, the hotel changed to the Sheraton Stamford Hotel in Stamford, Connecticut. The Sheraton would continue to be the host hotel for the convention until its final year in 2017. They had a whole lot of guests this second year, and honestly, I can't even list them all. Like, I can't list them all. But I will definitely, here they are on the screen. You can look at them. That's all the guests. And Rufflecon at that time announced that they had Simplicity as their new big sponsor. They had pretty much the same things they had as previous years, only they took away the screening room, added a variety show, coordinate contest, handmade contest, which was sponsored by Simplicity, and a beard contest. There was also a game room and a karaoke room that were provided by attendees. This year, it seems like they introduced a lot of alternative fashion content rather than just having the schedule being mostly Lolita fashion content that they had in the previous years. From looking at the schedule and the pictures, it looks like everybody had a pretty good time. There are some mentions of hiccups in the scheduling, mostly in the marketplace and with a couple of the fashion shows, but it's almost impossible to find anything about it. This is probably because 2015 was around the time when the Lolita fashion community was shifting from LiveJournal to Facebook, so a lot of these things may have been in closed off group, blogs that have been deleted, stuff like that. And also, Facebook search is trash, so it was kind of a pain to find most of this stuff anyway. There's even a pretty good Nylon article about the event. Alright, so the second event is in the bag, and they seem to be able to handle the feedback. So the 2016 dates are announced. In 2016, the dates are going to be October 14th through 16th. 2016's guest list includes a few designers from the previous years, plus some new faces: American Duchess, Pastel Parade, Putumayo, and Vierge Vampire. There were also a variety of performers and guests listed under the category of special interest. Their big sponsor again for this year was once again Simplicity. They also helped sponsor the handmade contest once again. 2016 was shaping up to be Rufflecon's biggest year to date. Hotel rooms were close to selling out in August, and that was a major accomplishment for a convention that had only been running for 2 years. In 2016, when I first saw those pictures and all the videos and the schedule come in, I was so jealous. It looked like so much fun. I really wanted to go, and it was just a full perfect fashion weekend, like with shopping, fashion shows, brands, like, yeah, I wanted to do that. I definitely had to do that. It was my goal to go the year after that to Rufflecon. So a few days after the 2016 convention is when things kind of start to fall apart a little bit, I guess. The first issue that comes to light is the hotel's mold issue. A review posted to Yelp, but later posted to the Rufflecon general discussion group, reads as follows. Worst experience I've ever had at a hotel to date, and I've had my fair share of shady hotels. First, we check into our room with the smell of BO emanating from it as soon as we enter, which struck us as odd, but we thought perhaps it was from the previous guest or some such. Also, we barely made it into our room as the door kept sticking and wouldn't open very well. Okay. that's gross. We also then noticed a strange black stain on the ceiling, but again thought nothing much of it. Then the morning after, our friend who is allergic to mold starts to feel really ill, and we finally put two and two together. Mold is growing in the room, and that is what caused the smell and the stain on the ceiling. We then go down to the lobby to request a room change. The review continues to describe the difficulties that attendees had with their room key, and staff claiming that this was the first that they had heard of the mold. After this review came out, many more followed. The hotel staff had been extremely rude to some Rufflecon attendees, calling them weirdos, and they were extremely difficult during check-in and check-out, at some points even ignoring Lolitas trying to get in and out of their hotel rooms. Some of the guests invited that year were also making the attendees uncomfortable. The food was gross, and some people got food poisoning from the eggs in the breakfast buffet. Someone smoked weed on the 4th floor, and it just smelled everywhere. Since the Rufflecon general discussion group was made from an attendee, Rufflecon staff eventually came onto the general discussion post to explain how to submit concerns to the Rufflecon feedback email rather than just leaving a Yelp review. They needed detailed information including room numbers and names to file a breach of contract against the hotel. I want to note they only posted the directions to submit a detailed review and feedback in a few replies to the Rufflecon general discussion thread. They only posted kind of like a generic take our feedback post 2 days later to the main Rufflecon page, so nothing telling people to send if you had any issues with the hotel that were serious. They didn't really send anything out in a public manner to attendees. They kind of just expected people to read the Facebook post in the general discussion group, I guess. But, also, why wouldn't the hotel just do something about the mold? Especially when, many people are complaining and there's many Yelp reviews being written. I don't know. These issues were huge. It got people talking. It made you question, if you wanted to spend your weekend in a moldy hotel room, was it worth it? Just to go shopping and do some fashion shows and go look at some brands for a weekend? Rufflecon staff takes the feedback in stride and announces the new dates in February of 2017. That upcoming year's Rufflecon is slated to be on November 10th to November 12th. I bought my ticket the day they came out. I bought 2 tickets actually. Okay, so you're probably asking, why go? Because from someone who had never been to any type of fashion convention, I had mostly been to anime conventions at the time, this looked pretty amazing. I have been wearing Lolita for about 5 or 6 years at that point, and I had never gone to anything with a brand tea party or fashion shows every day. That just was so exciting to me. It was mind-blowing that there was this 3-day convention where I could just talk about a fashion that I've loved for years, go to fashion shows, and then buy the clothes that I've seen in the fashion shows directly after it. Anyone who's in this fashion, well, I wouldn't say anyone, but a lot of people who are in this fashion would probably love to do something like this. And it was something I had been dreaming since the announcement came out in 2012. So, of course, yes, I was gonna go. 5 months before the next Rufflecon, Simplicity, their biggest sponsor for the past 2 years, released a dress pattern and an accessories pattern. The dress pattern used a macaron border print that was purchased off of Swoonflower and used to make the sample garment that the model is wearing. The artist who designed the fabric expressed her discomfort of Simplicity not asking before using her fabric design and not crediting her for designing the fabric. The accessory patterns consisted of a rosette copied by Moss Badger, bear ear bonnet taken by Miss Candy Holly, and a cat ear bonnet by Vierge Vampire. These were all independent designers located in the marketplace. I actually bought this bear ear bonnet in 2017 from Miss Candy Holly. One of the designers that had their design stolen claims that a Simplicity representative that was working that weekend walked up to their booth, looked around, and purchased one of the designs that they later copied off of. This was absolutely not okay. It was 100% theft, and the backlash was swift and very, very, very intense. It happened really fast. Many people called for Simplicity to be removed as a sponsor, or they didn't feel comfortable showing up to Rufflecon anymore, which, for attendees and designers, I completely understand. If you're a designer, you don't want your designs to be ripped off by some pattern making company, and an attendee doesn't want to support support a company who rips off other people's patterns, other people's designs. Some people left false negative reviews about the pattern on Simplicity's website, while other people decided to send death threats to Simplicity and Rufflecon, which, no, don't do that. The situation was getting out of control and fast. Rufflecon released a statement about the situation on July 6, 2017. I don't believe this is a full statement, but I couldn't really find the whole statement since the link was very broken. Thanks a lot, Facebook. Unfortunately, the incident also resulted in threats of violence and death threats made against both Rufflecon and Simplicity. This is unacceptable. Please understand that approaching this matter in this way will not garner results. We understand the issue is sensitive to our audience, but the first step should always be polite, firm, and professional, not visceral. We are actively working with designers that reached out to us, or Simplicity directly so far, and encourage others who have been affected to do the same as well. We would kindly ask that all threatening commentary cease towards us or Simplicity. It is not helping in resolving this matter. We understand your concerns, and we are here to support our artists directly. Please help us do that in a polite, professional way. Because of the reaction online to the pattern and the loss of our largest sponsor, we are now in a financial predicament that may halt further work for this conference. If you support an individual artist and want to keep an event like ours going, please consider sponsoring our event in some capacity or reaching out to companies you would feel would be a better fit for Rufflecon and its attendees. And with that, Rufflecon lost their biggest sponsor 5 months before the event. So 5 months before the event, you're about 3 years in for your convention. You don't have a lot of money. You lost your biggest sponsor. This puts you in a difficult situation. I would lose my mind, honestly. So as you can tell, this did not bode well for the convention. Not in the slightest. They could not find any sponsors that large within 5 months. But alas, tickets have been sold, people have been invited, and the show must go on. The designers for Rufflecon 2017 were Metamorphose, Samantha Ray, Triple Fortune, Clock Monster, Cloudberry Lady, Cotton Book, Darkly Darling, designs by Morgan, I Do Declare, Ikimen Mode, Moss Badger, Poofy Veil, Essay designs by Zaza, Spooky Sparkle Party, Strawberry Paper Doll, The Bloody Tea Party, Ties That Bind, Unreal Designs, who is now known as Plushy Kawaii, Victorian Angel, and West Side Couture. They also had a few sponsors as well. American Duchess, Arda Wigs, a TBA beer brand, Blackbird Finery, Lolita in the City, and Wonderwell. Some were from previous years, but none were definitely at the level of Simplicity. And I don't mean that in a mean way, but Simplicity was a corporation who was able to throw thousands of dollars around to help this small event. So it makes sense that these smaller companies don't have the buying power that Simplicity has. Pretty much, that's what I'm saying. The schedule was released a couple of weeks before the convention, and I remember looking at it and marking off the things that I wanted to do, and I remember it was a little bare compared to the previous years. But there were a couple of things that did seem exciting to me, and I also applied to model on Saturday, so I figured I'd be pretty busy with my modeling. Fast forward to the convention. After a 6-hour drive from Virginia to Connecticut, me and my partner arrived at our hotel room at about 6 p.m. We stayed about 2 blocks away from the main host hotel at the Stamford Marriott Hotel and Spa. I wanted to avoid the mold problem, but my room had mold. At that point in time, I just figured that no one around here knew how to build bathrooms with good ventilation, so that was just a citywide problem or something. I changed into an outfit and made it just in time to watch some of the Brilliant Kingdom performance and Triple Fortune fashion show. They had a lot of the same events as they did the previous years. The coordinate contest, fashion shows, consignment, marketplace, handmade contest, beard contest, all the classics. Unfortunately, there was no longer a variety show, a karaoke room, or a video game room. The karaoke room and the video game room were attendee run, so people who were running it the previous years probably just didn't come back or just didn't feel like running it that year. There were game show panels, but a lot of them were scheduled during the Metamorphose fashion show, or I was just doing fashion show stuff of my own. and that really was kind of sad because those were the panels that I was really kind of excited about since they seemed like a lot of fun. On the other side, I'm giving this review as someone who bought a regular membership and not a VIP membership. I was a broke college student at the time. It was a miracle that we even made it to Connecticut, but yeah, I bought the regular membership. I didn't go to the tea party or anything, but I still had a fun time. Looking back at it now though, I don't think I would have had that good of a time if my friends weren't there and my community members weren't there. I spent most of my time shopping with them, hanging out with them, going to the fashion shows and concerts, and just like getting to talk to them, getting to know them better, and hanging out with them. It felt like I paid to go to an extended meetup weekend, and that was definitely fine and fun, but I don't think I would do it again. What I'm saying is, essentially, is I see why people wouldn't go back. And this is not a bad thing. In my case, it was a 6-hour drive from Virginia to Connecticut to go shopping, to drink, and to look at fashion shows. Or I can go to a mega meet, which is still only about 2-hour drive away. 2 hours is way less than 6. In 2017 to 2018, conventions started to step it up in terms of their J-fashion content. Basically, they started putting more J-fashion stuff into their convention schedule. More fashion shows. Some conventions even started to do tea parties again and bring over brand guests from Japan. A lot of music guests as well. Or some communities even took a shot at hosting their own events. And all of these things were starting to turn out really well. And with that, Rufflecon 2017 came to a close, with a little bit of uncertainty in it. But that was completely understandable, seeing as they just ran a convention without their biggest sponsor to date. On February 27th, 2018, Rufflecon's Facebook, Twitter, website, and Instagram were all deleted. Many people were very confused and upset by this because it was very sudden. I know I personally was waiting for my modeling images to come back from the photographer, and a lot of the VIPs hadn't even gotten their pictures that they had paid for yet. So this complete ghosting kind of shocked everyone and took us all by surprise. A few days later, the con chair sent out an email to everyone who had purchased a ticket. It reads as follows: "The time has come where many are expecting to see our memberships go up for sale for the 2018 conference year. Unfortunately, I'm here to say that Rufflecon is officially closed. I made this clear to our staff directly after the 2017 conference. As staff, we have known for quite some time that the 2018 year was not going to happen. Our staff have been waiting respectfully for an official announcement prior to saying anything further, and I appreciate that. I did take an opportunity to talk with other events about doing a merger. It almost happened. It did not happen because for one event, it didn't work out on the other event side logistically, and for another event, it wasn't going to be an event that as an attendee would have been expecting. All in all, it made more sense to officially close the event. There are a lot of rumors as to why it's ending, and I'd like to put it to bed with 4 simple reasons why. I no longer live in the Northeast US. Many other staff members are in a comparable situation. While we parted on good terms with simplicity, I can't say the same for some of our attendees and designers. Unfortunately, this puts the staff in an awkward position where we would have sponsors that would love to work with our staff but consider our audience a risk not worth the rewards. There was a dramatic decrease in large sponsorship opportunities, and that's a big backbone of income to cover our costs to run the event. The event had a steady decrease in attendees over the last 2 years. This also doesn't help with covering costs and gave me an indication that the event had lost its novelty. I didn't want to raise ticket prices yet again, and we already tried reducing a lot of events in 2017 to not so rave reviews. The event had turned into a Lolita fashion event, and that was never the goal. There are so many other fantastic designers outside of Lolita fashion that should be recognized and given a platform. It's clear that choices made on my side, as well as the culture around Lolita fashion itself, was not helping it break out of this small subset. It makes more sense to work on a different project than to try and turn Rufflecon into something it's not. Our website and email were due for payment, and that's why those are down. There is no sense in paying for those if the conference is not continuing. Also, our social media accounts were not being maintained with zero activity for the last few months, so that's why those are removed. I've asked for the Facebook page to be reinstated for now, for those asking about photos and videos. This will be taken down before the summer. Because I do not have social media, it is currently sitting in someone else's account who has nothing to do with Rufflecon. If you are a designer and want media specifically for previous shows you had with us, give me a shout and I'll see if I can locate them. I hope this makes it clear that if you are staff, please feel free to discuss anything you want with whomever you wish about Rufflecon. But as attendees, please do not barrage the former staff with questions about the event. At this point, the only person that really knows what's going on is me. I hope you all have great memories of the event, and I hope that other people find inspiration to have events of their own like I did with Caro back in 2013. I also encourage folks to attend events made by those who are equally as passionate as giving a platform for fashion to speak. It is not an easy task, and support makes it all the difference, no matter how small you think your support might be. The Facebook page was later reinstated and all the VIP photos were delivered. When this letter first came out, a lot of people considered this to place the blame of the convention failing on Lolitas. And I can kind of see where that can be interpreted. The Simplicity situation is bad, and I think we can all agree on that. What scared Simplicity off and what made them warn other companies about the Lolita fashion community, though, were a few people who decided to send hate and death threats to both Simplicity and Rufflecon. To those few Lolitas, I hope it's obvious to you now that you're not gonna do anything constructive by sending death threats, but that probably wasn't your mission in the first place. And you know what? A few bad apples spoiled the whole freaking bunch. So Rufflecon wasn't able to get any major sponsorships from any other pattern companies or fabric companies, and that's just unfortunate. I don't think Lolitas can be blamed for the low attendance and the fact that it turned into an Lolita fashion only event, and here are some of the reasons why. Like I said earlier, there were more and more events popping up that were doing the same thing that Rufflecon was doing. Events that were closer to people in different localities that were easier to travel to for them. So a lot of people are not going to go out of their way to go to Connecticut. The only reason why I would probably see someone doing that is if they have friends up there. And no one was really willing to travel unless there was something super special about the event. And without that money, you don't really have the ability to bring in super special guests from overseas or any of the special brands or anything like that. In terms of this being a Lolita fashion only event, the advertising and the way it described itself as an event kind of did only appeal to Lolitas. I mean, yeah, there were a few panels and guests here and there for non-Lolita attendees, but Lolitas had a huge event at the end of the weekend to culminate this whole experience. There was nothing for the goths, the steampunks, or any other alternative fashions. I mean, maybe there could have been a LARP or like a gothic garden tea party or something like that, but it just felt like a lot of the alternative fashions didn't get the spotlight that Lolita fashion got at the event. And also, some of the Lolitas at the event didn't help either. There were reports of body shaming and reports of people asking why other alternative fashions were there. There were reports of people saying that we should ban men from the event because, like, it's a Lolita fashion event, which doesn't make any sense because, like, men wear Lolita fashion. So this made people rightfully not want to come back. It was a hostile environment with nothing for them to do. They had other conventions that they could go to where they had more guests and more stuff to do. So they just went to those instead. Now, all of these other things I'm going to bring up, these are just separate issues that I think also helped cause the decline of the convention. There's just a lot of things that happened that aren't even mentioned in the letter. A lot of the staff was stressed thin and they were doing 2 to 3 jobs at one time. That's unsustainable for any convention to have all of your staff be doing 2 to 3 jobs at the same time. And there were not that many volunteers. And there was high staff turnover as well. So you would not see people from the previous years come back to work on staff because they got so stressed. There was a lack of security at Rufflecon. So Rufflecon had enforcers instead of security because in Connecticut you had to have a special license to call yourself security. So essentially what these enforcers do was they were just mall cops. They could call actual security, like the couple of hotel security that they had in the back somewhere, I guess, or they could call the cops, but they couldn't really intervene on anything. They were kind of just basically there to check badges. Usually this problem doesn't really come up because conventions are attached to convention centers or hotels have enough security staff for a convention. I guess this hotel assumed that this event was not going to bring enough people, so they didn't need to call in all of their security, or they just didn't have a lot of security. From what I remember being at the hotel, I didn't see that much security, and it didn't seem like they hosted something this big before. It wasn't like big, but it was kind of like big. The hotel ended the dance an hour early, even though they've had a late night dance for about 2 years prior. People with special dietary needs at the tea party kept getting the wrong plates, and even at the wrong plates, they didn't really get that much food compared to the other guests. People had sent their dietary restrictions months in advance, so something could have been figured out for everyone. Basically, all these problems meeting up together cause just an unsolvable mess, and it just seemed better to throw it all away and maybe work on something else some other time. It's unfortunate, but it happens, and I can't give any other solution because I don't run big events like that, and that seems like the thing that I would do, honestly. So it has been almost 4 years since the last Rufflecon, and currently there are so many events, both standalone and convention run, that have filled in the hole that Rufflecon left so many years ago. Although Rufflecon ended abruptly, it definitely taught the community a lot. It also inspired the community to make their own fashion events in their own communities, and those events are all local and unique to the communities around them. Rufflecon may have not been the absolute most best Lolita fashion event ever, but it was a thing that I was really glad to have gone to, or at least gotten a chance to have gone to. So I want to hear your thoughts about Rufflecon. What do you think they could have done better? Do you think they would have had to stop after the 4th year, or could they have kept it going? What could have been done differently? How would have you advertised to other alternative fashion communities maybe? I don't know. I'd just like to hear it in the comments if you want to drop that, Anyway, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. It was a labor of love, boredom. I don't know, I just took a lot of time to do this, but it was definitely worth it. It was very fun to look at something in the past that happened that you were a part of as well. So I had a lot of fun. It took a lot of time, it took a lot of research, but it was a lot of fun, and I really hope you enjoyed it. I genuinely do. If you have any other suggestions for something you want me to do a deep dive on, definitely drop them in the comments. I love researching, so if you have anything, throw it my way. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this video. Happy International Lolita Day. Bye-bye.